Treyarch, please don't listen to the community. So today I wanted to talk about a lot of the backlash about Black Ops 6. And while I do agree with some of it, other things I just cannot and will not agree with on any level at all. And one quick thing before this video starts, I just wanted to clarify that this is not an attack on any of these creators. It's merely the arguments and ideas presented that I personally disagree with. So please, let's keep the conversation about the ideas presented rather than the people behind them. So without further ado, we're going to start off with the absolute dumbest complaint ever. Weapon damage. The most common complaint I hear about this game is that the damage weapons do is too low, and I will explain why I think this is something that under absolutely no circumstance should be changed or modified at all. The average triple packed legendary gun will typically get you to around about round 35. In some cases it can be higher or lower depending on the weapon. Now why is this a good thing, you might be asking? Well, it's a good thing because round 50 should be difficult to get to. Round 50 is mostly considered a high round, and buffing the damage borderline causes massive balancing problems as well. The health cap of zombies is at 55, so if they buff weapon damage to make it to where you can get to round 45, for example, that is not only way too close to 50, but it also makes certain weapons even more powerful than they already are, specifically the Mustang and Sally's and the LR762. These two weapons, especially the Mustang and Sally's, are essential for the high rounds. Like, they are literally better than the ray gun already, so buffing their damage will also make them damn near 1 to 2 shot zombies infinitely. And your solution to this might be, well, okay, just make the health cap 65 or 75 to compensate. Well, that's going to hurt wonder weapons as well. I mean, the Beam Smasher's primary fire is already pretty mid, so it's going to turn the wonder weapon's damage problem even worse. And not only that, but it will also devalue high rounds even more so. I mean, people are asking for this change just to make the camo grind easier. Like, are we that brainwashed that we need to have the core game design be completely destroyed for the sake of a fucking camo grind? I would argue no. No, we don't. And this is exactly why I think Double Tap 2.0 is a garbage idea, because it completely fucks the balance of the game. If you want to get to even round 50, you should have to use only specific weapons and strategies to get you to that point. That's how it's always been in zombies. The only game that changed the status quo is Cold War. And personally, I don't want Cold War difficulty in this game. I want Black Ops 2 levels of difficulty. And if you do not like that and cannot physically get to a higher round without the entire balance of the game getting destroyed, then personally, I think that's a skill issue. I mean, there's really nothing I can tell you besides get better at the game, because high rounds have always been this way, so get used to it. And I really hope with future updates they don't fuck this up. Now with that settled, we're going to talk about another dumb complaint I see: super sprinters. Now I'm going to explain to you why super sprinters are 1000% needed and should be left the exact same way they are. Now, super sprinters were introduced in Black Ops 4, and the reason they were bad specifically is because they move faster than you. It was very artificial. This was levied a bit in Cold War, but it still incentivized camping very heavily. Now, why do I think they are actually good and needed in Black Ops 6? Well, it's because of your movement. You move fast as shit in this game. If the zombies moved as fast as they did even in Black Ops 3, they could not catch up or pose damn near any threat to you at all. These zombies are not faster than you. You are actually faster than the zombies in this game, especially with mantling and other movement abilities. Zombies could not catch up to you in any way without this increased movement speed. It's just not possible, especially with tac sprint. And this is also complemented with the increased horde size being 50 at a time. Spaces we thought were quote unquote open are actually incredibly cramped because of just how many zombies there are with their speed. And this makes you need to use your movement. Omni movement is incredibly useful in zombies, and you absolutely need to use it 100%. Like, this is the only game where I have to slide cancel like a maniac to succeed, and it's a good thing, not a bad one. So I hope 100% this stays. Another problem that gets brought up that I do agree with is the point system. This point system is ass. It's so garbage, and it arbitrarily gates your progression and limits how many points you can earn in a round. It's bullshit, especially with how expensive things are in the game. Now, I bring this up not because I don't agree with the fact this point system is garbage, but because the community's solution to it is just downright awful. A good example of this is Noah V2's video on Black Ops 6.
Up next, the point system. So first up, I want to talk about an idea I've touched on in a previous video. that being a points bonus that's added on top of the point system, essentially adding an extra 30 to 50 points that you would be able to get by shooting zombies before killing them. And so this essentially keeps the new point system, but adds a bonus for weaker weapons and giving people a reason to not just use something like a shotgun. Or they could even just make it so that this is a unique feature exclusive to a couple weapon classes like pistols and SMGs, the ones that are the most affected by the new point system.
Okay, so off the rip, I will explain to you why this idea doesn't really solve anything, especially in the early round, because the zombies you're shooting at will always drop a set value of points. So still in the early game, why would I not simply just use the strongest weapon if I'm getting the same amount of points anyway? This does help a little with the higher rounds because at the very least you are getting something from shooting them, but I find it to be very inconsequential.
And I think another great idea for this is actually adding a point multiplier. So shout out to Zombies YouTuber Expert Fusion, who had the fantastic idea to add a point multiplier to the point system. So essentially this would keep it the same, but the faster you kill the zombies, the higher your point multiplier will be. So the normal system is there, but it would encourage you to actually try out high fire rate guns, just spraying to the horde to try and get that point multiplier up, essentially making those more of a viable option.
This idea, respectfully, is absolutely fucking terrible and only causes a bigger problem when it comes to only using the highest damage weapon, because the highest damage weapon is the one that will get you the most points. So this would make something like an ARG shotgun even more important than ever, and make something like the Strider even worse than it already is, because you can't even compete with anything like the shotgun. You're barely going to get a bonus at all. Not to mention how even more broken this would make an insta-kill, and it's already the best power-up in the game. It's just way too broken, and this would make it even worse.
But honestly, I really like this idea that I came up with. Adding a new specialist that gives you the OG point system. So you could call it something like Ether Aid, and essentially it would just temporarily make all non-lethal shots to zombies give you 10 points. And so boom, if you want the old point system, there it is. But again, it's not broken because it's only temporary. And so if you pair something like this specialist with maybe an SMG, that class setup could get you a lot of points. And I don't know, I think it would help make some of those weaker guns more viable without even changing the core point system as it is.
Okay, I mean, this is better, but I still find it pretty stupid. I mean, you're telling me I have to wait upwards of a minute just to get a better point system? This would also break the entire balance of the field upgrades, because why the hell would I use anything else? At that point, why not just make the standard system the old point system? At that point, it's already in the game. Why the hell would we tie something as massively as the point system to a field upgrade? I don't know. Personally, I just really hate that idea. And here's the thing as well, right? I hear people say that they would have to entirely change the game for the old point system, but that's just not true. Loadout weapons are actually pretty weak, so it's not like we're doing too much damage for it to not matter. Not only that, but the only thing it would do is make early game progression a lot more manageable, give personality and purpose to weapons that desperately need it, and help a lot with high round point management. I mean, it's damn near 20,000 points for all your perks every time you go down, several thousand for ammo, 14,000 for armor, and 4,000 points every time you want to refill it without using salvage, 50,000 points for triple pack, and that's only one gun by the way, plus multiple $1,000 doors, and I can just keep adding on. Points cannot have this much of an impact on gameplay without the amount of points earned being able to keep up with it. And this new point system can't. It's hot garbage, and it's the biggest problem with this entire game. So please just add the old system back, either in a classic mode or the next game, because I just can't deal with it anymore at this point. The next part of this video is about problems that are really not problems at all. I mean, for example, let's look at Lex's review. Now, before I go into it, I will say that I actually really do think this is a good review. However, this part at the end is just pretty dumb to me.
I think Black Ops 6 Zombies is fun. Is it worth it? This is what I would give as my final verdict. I think Liberty Balls is a B tier map. Again, the Easter egg is all right. It just feels like a Black Ops 2 town, just with a little bit extra. You know, you got that Easter egg, and then you also have the jet gun being better. But again, a lot of people in my chat were coming to my chat, and they were saying, what happened to the Transit remake? Like, where's the Transit remake? Because they saw I was playing Liberty Balls with the jet gun, right? And so I was like, bro, it's crazy that if they just would have remastered Transit and went all the way when they remastered the jet gun, that I think people would have actually really liked this Black Ops 6 launch. Like, it would have appealed to both OG and new players. I think all new players of Call of Duty, like Warzone players, are very appeased with this game, but right now OG players are a little bit mixed.
Okay, so people came and asked you that, Lex, because that's what you told them would be in this game. This is what I mean when I talk about some of the problems with people like Lex. It's because they think that jet gun equals transit, and when they make that absurd jump and tell their audience that shit, not only do they themselves get disappointed, but so does their audience. And also, what the fuck do you mean it would have satisfied OG OG and new players. Most OG players are sick of fucking remasters. That's damn near all we got in Black Ops 4, and nobody liked it for the most part. OG players are already satisfied with both maps. Most casuals are also satisfied with both maps as well. Like, a Transit remastered is not needed under any circumstance, I'm telling you. I don't know why you are so hungry for a fucking remaster, but I'm happy with what they are doing, and the fully original maps are amazing. I don't know, I just wanted to talk about that as kind of a mute point that I don't really understand. Another example of really problems that just aren't any at all, basically, is still this entire video by Nova V2, for the most part at least.
Alright, so with ammo out of the way, let's touch on score streaks. So I think how they currently work is okay, but I would really like them to kind of look kind of more how they used to. So think about the death machine from Black Ops 1 Zombies. You know, it was like a blue perk drop and it had these bullets on it. Like, imagine if every score streak kind of had that kind of look to it when you went to go pick it up.
I mean, it wasn't really anything special. The only thing that was zombified is that you had to get it as a drop. But aesthetically, it was pretty much the same, and you didn't even want a death machine in Black Ops 1 because it was shit and slowed your movement.
And of course, I would love if the announcer said something too when you were to pick it up or pull it out. But again, going off of that, how do we make it feel like zombies even more? So here's a couple of my ideas. So think about this. The sentry turret. Make it look like it's torn up, put together with scraps and stuff like that, like it was on Transit. The napalm strike, maybe call it the ether strike. And it's like an ether rift tear appears in the sky and it dropping ether crystals that causes like purple fire or something.
I mean, it's literally just a color change. My biggest problem with this video is that none of this shit is actually a problem. I hate the nomenclature used as well, make it more like zombies, as if shit from Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, or basically any other game went this fucking ballistic about equipment. Slapping ether on everything does not change its design within the mode gameplay-wise. Putting a bunch of crystals on everything in Cold War doesn't change the fact it makes the entire game easy as fuck. All of this shit is just a non-problem, because OG Zombies itself did not do this shit.
With the chopper gunner, maybe just change that to something called like the Pack of the Elders, where again a rift would appear in the sky and you create a bond with like a powerful dark ether being temporarily, where you're able to use their powers to like rain hell from above. So essentially it would work this exact same mechanically, but having that zombies coat of paint, I think everyone would freaking love it. And the same thing with the Hellstorm. Like, what if it was an ether storm, where again a rift would appear in the sky and you would be piloting a giant ether crystal, shooting off shards to kill zombies instead of missiles.
First of all, you must have been smoking a pack of the Elders when making this shit, because this doesn't make any sense in any context. It doesn't match the setting or error or literally anything else. It's just dumb. If it's not broke, don't fix it. These are just very unnecessary changes to shit that doesn't need to be changed.
And the thing that bothers me is we have score streaks in the game that feel like zombies, like the Arc XD, the Mangler Cannon, the Mutant Injection. All of those feel like zombies, but why can't the rest?
This is what I mean when I say that these complaints are ridiculous. The RCXD having a bunch of fucking crystals on it suddenly makes it feel like zombies? No, it's still a score streak. Like, it was still broken in Cold War. It was a massive problem and it cheapened the experience. This shit is just so backwards to me, especially when this should just not be Treyarch's priority in any context.
Hey, why, thank you very much, Nova, for having me on your channel today. Look, I'm mostly focused on aesthetics, and to me, when I see a gun, whether it be on the ground or on the mystery box, pop up with a glowing hue around it that shows what rarity it is, it kind of draws me out of the atmosphere.
Babe, how? Like, how? It makes total sense. Every single fucking mystery box has an inner glow. It's such a weird thing to complain about. Like, in that sense, a power-up might as well just draw you out of the atmosphere as well. It just doesn't make any sense.
But look, we're here to solve some problems, okay? Weapon rarities. And instead of the gun glowing a color, how about this? We have a piece of tape wrapped around the gun like you would find in some sort of zombie scenario. And that right there on the gun itself physically can show you what rarity it is without damaging the aesthetic of the game. I even got more. Look, check this one out. You could even have it on the barrel itself, right? And to me, it's simple details like this that can really change the game.
Yeah, because slapping an ugly ass piece of tape on your gun really solves the non-problem. Like, this would make every gun look ugly as shit. I'm going to explain to you how guns work. So as you shoot a gun, the barrel of the gun gets hot. So just from a gun perspective, it would melt the fucking tape off. So if anything is immersion breaking, it's the uggo ass piece of tape on the barrel.
Now, next up is another big one. Armor. So we all know the problem with this. It's too easy to get, it's too powerful, and again, it doesn't feel like zombies at all. And something I said in the previous video is to have it work like it does in World War II. And we could actually do this through something like a Juggernog augment. You can make it so that when you have Jug and you're hit 5 times and then that final blow, no matter what, will always save you and break an armor plate.
So I'm gonna clarify that World War II's armor system is absolutely fucking garbage and we should stop the comparison, given that World War II system just literally gives you 3 health bars and it's garbage.
But aside from how it actually works, how could we make it feel more like zombies? I think this would be super easy. Think about this. What if it was something like called ether plates, where instead of armor plates, you're using armor-shaped Ethereum crystals to protect yourself from the zombies? Or even imagine if it was like a blue 115 rock that kind of was in like an armor shape. It's essentially just an asset swap, but it would be sick.
Yet again, like this is just absolutely fucking ridiculous. You say feeling, but it functions mechanically the exact same way as fucking Warzone. It having a bunch of fucking crystals on it doesn't do a damn thing, especially when you barely fucking see it at all. Like what the fuck are we talking about? Like this tiny ass plate that's not even a part of your character model should stay the fucking same. It doesn't matter. And I would rather them spend time doing literally anything else. Like it can't feel any different when mechanically it functions the exact same. This fixes absolutely nothing. I don't know why we should be asking Treyarch to fix shit that is not broken.
It's the same mechanic, but it feels like zombies. It's essentially how they used to do the shield. The shield was a straight rip from multiplayer in Black Ops 2, down to the weird mechanic of being able to place it on the ground for no reason. But it was made to look and fit each map. It didn't look like multiplayer. It looked like it was made out of prison bars, or it was in like a steampunk style. And so on top of this, imagine if armor on each map was aesthetically different. Like even if it isn't super zombified, imagine if the plates on something like Terminus was covered in vines. Like come on man, like little things like that do so much.
Okay, this comparison is very dumb, because the shield was a part of your character model. You could pull it out and place it down, just like you did here. And not only that, but you had to build it. So if you had to build it with different parts, they had to make those parts and those assets make sense within the map. But they don't need to do that anymore, because none of that applies to the armor system at all. So why the hell would we need to do these unnecessary changes? It's so pointless. So why are we complaining about it at all when it's not a problem to begin with? I mean, let me ask you guys this right now. Would you rather have them give us the old point system or put vines on a fucking armor plate you barely see at all? I know all of you would rather have the old point system because that actually significantly affects your gameplay experience. But vines on an armor plate doesn't affect that shit at all.
And next is actually another one that they've already kind of fixed before in the past, that being the equipment. And so a small gripe I have with this real quick is that I would love to just have the really good ones added to the box, like the monkeys and the new Gersh device, and also have them refill on a max ammo. I don't like that the main way you have to get them is to go craft them from the crafting table, and if you want to refill them, you have to go back to the crafting table and go buy another one. I really feel like that just kind of takes away from the fun gameplay of getting them from the box. But again, how do we make it more zombified? Well, it's super easy. Just make them all look and feel like zombies. Why should we have a multiplayer stim just completely ripped? It's the exact same, where you could just change the color of it and call it something like Elder Blood. Have it work the exact same, but you know, it just feels like zombies, and it could even have a little bit of lore to it.
It's still just a fucking shot. It doesn't need these unnecessary changes at all. You barely see it. It's fine where it is. It mechanically functions the exact fucking same. So no, it would still feel the same.
It's like something like Black Ops 4 did this kind of thing, and it was awesome. It's like, dude, imagine if instead of the Tomahawk, it just had the Hell's Retriever skin put onto it, and it had a different name called like the Hell's Eradicator. It's the same thing, but it looks and sounds like zombies.
This comparison sucks because it wasn't just a Tomahawk. It was essentially fucking Mjolnir, and it could give you drops and shit. Like, it was not just a Tomahawk. It was a special equipment, which is why it got the asset swap and the name change.
Now, again, going back to Black Ops 4, they did this where like the Simtex was instead an acid grenade, and instead of a Molotov, they had a Wraith Fire. And you know, you could do that exact same concept, where instead of just a fire grenade like we have in Black Ops 6, it could just be like an Ethereum canister like what we saw in the Modern Warfare Zombies cutscene. Like, this is something they used to do in the past, but they don't anymore.
See, this made sense in Black Ops 4 because these were aesthetic changes for the more mystical aesthetic for Chaos. But that shit doesn't make any sense within the Ether maps. And still, even in Black Ops 4, there were still bog standard grenades. They didn't have Ether balls or some shit, it was just grenades. Because it's ridiculous and a waste of fucking time for them to fix shit that's not broken. If it's map specific equipment, it looks and acts different. If it's bog standard grenades or smoke smokes or whatever, they don't need to change it because there's no fucking reason to do so. That has been their philosophy, and it always has been. They have never strayed from that at all. So why change it? It's pointless. These are not actual problems. It's just weird nitpicks and shit that just shouldn't really be getting attention over literally anything else. And continuing that trend, let's see Lex's video about high rounds.
But the issue that I have with this is that honestly, I just feel like high rounds right now are just kind of in one of the worst spots for Black Ops 6 Zombies. It either just feels like spamming a bunch of kill streaks where you're spamming mutant injections, or as you can see, Gannon just grabbed a chopper gunner, or you're just sitting in an area that prevents the zombies from being fast and just instantly taking them out. And so it kind of goes back to that thing of how really since Black Ops 4, we've really only had camping strategies in Call of Duty Zombies. And I can understand why a lot of OG zombie players are quite upset at that.
My biggest problem is that you are cherry picking one map and one strategy as an example of the entire game. Now, yes, would I prefer a training strategy? Yes, I would. However, go to a map like Terminus, for example, and my strategy is totally viable and it's a training strat. So this is what I mean when I say that you'll take something that's very surface level and try to say that it's 100% emblematic of the entire game. And that's just not true.
And so I just hope that Black Ops 6 high rounds are at least somewhat different in the DLCs to come, because I am at least glad that we have swapped from just constantly spamming mutant injections, because now they no longer drop from manglers anymore. That is a great change, but I do still think that, like, because of that, you can't do any running strategies that are viable. Even with the fully upgraded augments on stamina, you're still way slower than the zombies. And again, camping will almost always be the best strategy in these modern type of zombie games where the zombies are faster than the player and they do too much damage.
Okay, so let me tell you that this is actually just factually wrong. Lex has been saying this for years and he's been wrong for years. The only game where you were actually slower than the super sprinters was Black Ops 4. Every single game afterwards, you ran faster than them. The reason why camping strategies, even though training is viable, are used is actually because of how they manipulate spawns. They are typically always faster because they control the spawns around you. It's not just because you move slower than the zombies, because you literally don't move slower than the zombies. And Lex, you really killed yourself by saying even with augments, you move significantly slower, where you can see with the PhD slider augment, I am moving 10 times faster than the zombies in this high round game. I am running circles around them with little to no difficulty. And while I do agree camping strategies are boring as hell and I hate them, you are misunderstanding how the game actually works. And the main reason there are even camping strategies on a map like Terminus is actually because of the mangler spam. Would you be shocked if I told you that the mangler spam actually makes this game easier? The main reason for that is because even with the score streak nerfs, the amount of manglers that spawn basically guarantee you a shit ton of score streaks every single round. You just need to kill them and you're set. But when Lex talks about this game, you'll never hear him talk about things like that because he simply just has no fucking clue what he's talking about. And it's not just him either. I don't think the majority of this community knows really half as much as they actually think they do. I don't think they understand how this game works at all, and I have shown all of you how evident that has been. And this is exactly why I hope Treyarch doesn't really listen to these people, because all their complaining is going to harm this game, not hurt it, if Treyarch actually listens to them. Now you might be asking, okay, well, what are the actual problems with this game? I'm going to list the majority of mine now and a solution I have for each of them, but the first actual problem, like I have listed before, is mangler spam. Just tone it down, Treyarch. It absolutely sucks. Next is this awful point system. Just put the old one back. There are zero problems with it at all, and it also doesn't make me want to shoot myself. So just do it, please. Next is this shitty ass pause timer. Like, at the very least, make it 2 hours like Vanguard's, because, I mean, why not? 15 minutes is absolutely fucking absurd. So if I need to take a shit, I'm absolutely screwed. Another thing too is the vermin rounds or parasite rounds. The special rounds in this game are absolutely awful. These rounds are longer than the actual zombie rounds. These special rounds are absolutely ridiculous. They can take up to 5 to 10 to even fucking 20 minutes. And these rounds actually scale in the higher rounds as well. They will take longer. You could be spending an hour on a vermin round. It is absolutely ridiculous. And with this change of having them stay for this long and having this many enemies, you are essentially removing the value of these rounds in the first place. These rounds are aren't special, they're dreadful. They suck. And they are absolutely the number one thing, that and the point system, that absolutely deter me from going for round 999 on Terminus. Because I don't want to sit through an hour or 2 hours of this fucking round. It's so annoying and obnoxious. So please, Treyarch, just make it to where like 10 to 20 spawn every round. It takes about a minute to 2. And they never scale, because these rounds are supposed to be a positive, not a negative, and that's all you have turned them into. Anyway, bye.